Seize him. Cut his throat. Stop. Wait. I've changed my mind. Let him go. Power is power. And which truth is that?
Knowledge is power.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Kiran and today we are going to learn about what is Linux boot process. Yeah, so let's get started. Yeah, so press the power button on your system and after a few moments you see the Linux login prompt. Have you ever wondered what happens behind the scenes from the time you press the power button until the Linux login prompt appears? Just try pressing escape button. You will see there are plenty of lot of processes which are getting stopped and some of the processes are getting started. So what is the sequence of processes which are getting started? And what are the levels or stages of Linux booting? That is we are going to learn today. So what is booting? Restarting a computer or its operating system software, it is of two types. Number one is cold booting. When the computer is started after having been switched off, it's called cold booting. Warm booting, when the operating system alone is restarted without being switched off. After a system crash or freeze, both types of booting clear out. For the time being, the bugs, bombs, memory conflicts, and other idiosyncrasies of the operating system. So, okay. So, diagram for the Linux boot process. Okay. The following are the 6 high-level stages of typical Linux boot process. Number one is BIOS, which is basic input output system, which is responsible for executing MBR. Then MBR, which is master boot recorder, which is responsible for executing grub. What is grub? Grub is a grand unified bootloader which loads a kernel into the operating system. What is kernel? That we'll see in detail in the next slide. And after the kernel, there are init which executes the run level program. And in the end, there is a run level. There are many run levels which we will see. Okay. Let's get started with BIOS. So what is BIOS? So BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. Perform some system integrity checks, searches, loads and execute the bootloader program. It looks for the bootloader in a floppy, CD-ROM or hard drive. You can press a key, typically F12 or F2, but it depends upon your system during the BIOS startup to change the boot sequence. Okay, you can change the boot sequence of operating system by going into the BIOS. I believe many of you have done that already. Once the bootloader program is detected and loaded into the memory, the BIOS gives the control to it. So in simple terms, BIOS loads and executes the MBR bootloader. Then numbers, okay? And number second is master boot record. So MBR stands for master boot record. It is located in the first sector of bootable disk, typically DAV, HDA or DAV, SDA. So HDA, this A or SDA, this A stands for the first disk, that is boot disk. So MBR is less than 512 bytes in size. This has three components. Number one, primary bootloader info, which is the first 446 bytes. Second is a partition table info, which is in the next 64 bytes, and third is MBR. So which are the MBR validation checks in last 2 bytes. It contains the information about grub or Lilo in old systems. So in simple terms, the MBR loads and execute the bootloader. Right? After that, there is a grub. What is grub stands for? Grub stands for Grand Unified Bootloader. If you have multiple kernel images installed on your system, you can choose which one to be executed. Grub displays a splash screen. Wait for a few seconds. If you don't enter anything, it loads the default kernel image. So whenever there are more than 2 kernel images in the operating system, and if you want to boot your OS with a specified kernel, then you have to be really quick, because if you don't choose a kernel of your choice, then OS will boot with the default kernel. So grub has a knowledge of file system. The older Linux loader, right? The grub configuration file is /boot/grub/grub.conf. or etc grub.conf is a soft link to that file. The following is a sample grub config. Okay, so how the sample grub configuration file looks like, I will show you how it looks like actually. See, so this is the sample grub file right here, right? Okay. As you notice from the above info, it contains kernel and initrd image. So in simple terms, grub just loads and executes the kernel and initrd images. What is kernel? What is kernel? So you can say kernel can be considered as the heart of operating system responsible for handling all system processes. So kernel, what are the functions of kernel? Kernel mounts the root file system as specified in the root in grub.conf. Kernel executes the sbinit program. Since init was the first program to be executed by Linux kernel, it has a process ID of 1. Do ps-ef grep init and check the PID. So initrd stands for initial RAM disk. Initrd is used by kernel as a temporary root file until the kernel is booted and the real root file system is mounted. It can also contains necessary drivers compiled inside which help it to access the hard drive partitions and other hardware. Right? And what is init process? Look at the /etc/init tab file to decide the Linux run level. Following are the available run levels. So run level 0, which is halt or power off, right? Run level 1, which is single user mode. Run level 2, which is multi-user without network support. Number 3 is full multi-user with network support. Number 4, that is run level 4 is unused. Run level 5 is X11, which is graphical user interface, which the most of the Linux user use. And run level 6 is reboot, right? Which is init 6. If you want to know the which run level current system is running, then just type the command run level and you will come to know on which run level it is running. Init identifies the default init level from etc init tab and uses that to load all the appropriate programs. If you want to get into trouble, you can set default run level as a 0 or 6. 0 and 6 means probably you might not do that. Typically, you would set the default run level as 3, either 3 or 5. Okay, just some of the folks, if you really want to get into trouble, then just try to set your run levels as 0 and 6, and if you face any problem, then just comment below in the video, right? So run level programs, when the Linux system is booting up, you might see various services getting started. For example, it might say starting sendmail. Okay, those are the run level programs executed from the run level directory as defined by your run level. Programs start with yes are used during the startup, and program starts with the K are used during the shutdown. K stands for kill and S stands for start. There are numbers right next to S and K in the program names. Those are sequence numbers in which the program should be started or killed. Right? So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, then please comment your questions. I will answer it. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please subscribe to our Technical Alpha Male YouTube channel, and you will be